Why, hello, folks. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Joe to Love. As Revolution peers towards Sunday, AEW Dynamite, the final AEW Dynamite ahead of Revolution, garners a unique approach in the Go show towards Sunday. Did have some good things, did have some not so friendly go home show aspects, which get into in a little bit. But overall, progression towards Revolution, at least we can appreciate for the go home show of AEW Dynamite. We had Sting's final AEW Dynamite on Wednesday as he descended from the ceiling and the rafters at least one more time on TV. Have not seen it since WCW Sting, Crow Sting basically. But we did see it on Wednesday and one last final brawl between him, Darby, and the Young Bucks right before Sunday, which was certainly an interesting visual. Certainly an interesting visual as far as many aspects. Certainly felt nostalgic if you've seen WCW and Sting descending from the ceiling from many years in WCW. But last he did on Wednesday, which was fun. Of course, there was one thing in the back of your head, in the back of many's head when you saw that happen, unfortunately, which was, so Tony Khan and AEW works and is partnered with with Owen Hart's widow, we know, Martha Hart, and of course the Owen Hart tournament, Memorial Tournament, which is a yearly thing in the summer now. But we can all agree, for those that were and are still fans of Owen Hart, that was certainly in the back of your head with what Sting did on Wednesday. Now, I'm sure that Tony Khan probably got Martha's blessing or something, whether it's a good cool beans or just, yes, whichever. But we can agree that you can't help but not think about what happened to Owen when that kind of thing happens. But nonetheless, it was a great thing to see Sting do. Who knows what he does on Sunday? Who knows what he does in his last match? But hopefully it's a sound, final, proper send-off for Sting. And a career. I was just born in the Monday Night Wars Attitude Era. So, I barely saw, WCW, WF when it was in that time. So, Of course, I grew up on WCW First NWO on Nintendo 64 and VHS tapes of Brawl for All, which were a great thing and my starting point of getting introduced to Sting. And TNA was certainly my biggest viewpoint of Sting in his time, but yeah, it's gonna be something on Sunday. So I will not do a SmackDown or Collision review this weekend. It'll just be this review for Dynamite, and then Revolution is Sunday. So I'll have a review for you guys then. After probably Monday, if not Tuesday. But I will have a review up. So yeah, Wednesday was Sting's Final Dynamite. Some unknowingness as far as the Revolution card for a couple matches. We did get some answers. So, in the opening segment, we did see a hoax, pretty much, or bleed into a storyline. So last week, Hangman Page, it looked like he was hurt after the main event with Hook, RVD, Samoa Joe, Swerve, and Brian Cage. It looked like he was hurt, and then there were reports that he's not really hurt, and then there was reports that it may be a personal issue, and this is a way to cover up if he's not able to compete at Revolution. And we did get an answer, as it will still be a triple threat on Sunday between Swerve, Hangman, and Samoa Joe for the world title, which should be great. Another thing, as far as a certain match, so again, now this match is not a significant match, but it's certainly weird how it's one of those things where too many guys on the show. It's like you gotta have a limit, and you could get what they were trying to do in the first draft with this match, but then now it's different. So last week, after Wardlow cut that great promo, the promo of his life and his career and of AEW, Excalibur noted on commentary that they were going to have a match coded as Meet Madness. And then Don Callis addressed it as well during his segment with Hobbs and Takeshita. Go figure that Hobbs would be in that match as well. So originally, last week, it looked like it was going to be Wardlow versus Hobbs versus Lance Archer. And so it's like, okay, this is a match primarily to get Wardlow over, get him a win, big win, supposedly on the pay-per-view, okay. And then it was scratched. And now it's not Meat Madness. It's more of they're calling it an all-star 8-man scramble type of match, which will now include those three: Chris Jericho, Hook, and Brian Cage. Some vacancies on the match. It's like Miro. There are some aspects. Go figure, when the match was announced, that you think he would be in it, but he spoke that he's been hurt since September, which, again, okay, that at least gives a reason as to why he's out, but at the same time, it's annoying how, whether it's WWE or AEW, mostly AEW, they brush injuries under the rug, which sometimes it's fair and sometimes it's not, because it leaves us the question. But nonetheless, he says he's gotten treatment in January. Again, it's... Anywho, the match has been changed. I imagine Wardlow is still going to win, but this match now seems like to be a cluster, you know what. And you just hate to see these matches put on pay-per-view, and it just feels like this match is made to get more people on the show. Now, I think these matches are part of the reason why AEW is leaning towards improving their pay-per-view schedule, adding more pay-per-views, because if there's more pay-per-views, then perhaps you're more inclined to not have these types of matches where you get a bunch of people in these matches that have not been built into like a story, and just put them in a match for the sake. It's like we get the match that happened at Revolution with the 8-man tag with the guys that lost in the Continental Classic, but still. Anywho, we're gonna get the match. Good that Wardlow's on the pay-per-view, okay. Hobbs, okay. Archer. No one's more conflicted than me about Lance Archer, because, let's face it, what they have not done with Archer, it's... Brian Cage, I get with the original concept of the match, but Hook and Chris Jericho, and then Penta, there's going to be a triple threat match on Collision to determine one of the other spots, in which it's going to be Penta versus Dante Martin versus Brian Keith. And it's like Penta or bust, pretty much, for that, the winner of that match. Yeah. Will Ospreay is now All Elite. His commitments with New Japan Pro Wrestling are done. He spoke out. He had a segment in the ring. Looked joyous to be there. Great to see. Had a segment with Don Callis' family. Talk about it all. Talk about the review. Let's get into it, shall we? Before we get into it, thank you all for support and everything. Of course, be sure to click the subscription box in the corner if you guys are new. Or if you guys are veterans of the channel and have not yet subscribed, please do so. Helps out. And you guys know the rest. So let's get into review, shall we? Again, a mild show. As far as the go home, wasn't bad, was okay. As a go home show, yeah, it was okay. Some hiccups, which, boy, well, I'll get into. Nonetheless, the show started in unique fashion. Hangman Adam Page, which again, with his huge mustache, looks like a different person. He looks more like Don Fry, if Don Fry was blonde, in a weird way. But you guys get the point. So Hangman talked about the injury, per se. So he was out there on crutch, and he was limping down the stage and to the ring. So right off the bat, it looks like not too good of a news for the Hangman and Mr. Cowboy Shizit, as JR would say. And it seemed like a dark moment. So, Hangman was in there by himself, talked about the rise of AEW when it started, how it was different for his fellow elite members in the start of AEW, but he saw it as a different opportunity than for him, because he obviously wasn't established before AEW as, say, the Young Bucks, say Cody, Kenny, etc. So he took great pride and moments in AEW, and now going back to his World Championship victory over Kenny Omega in 2021 being the best moment of his career, which is why it's so difficult for him, knowing that he would have a chance again at the world title at Revolution. And unfortunately, he said that he would not be able to wrestle come Sunday. Said he had in his mind, well, first he said that when he got note of a triple threat for the world title at Revolution, that the idea was horseshit. And his idea was it should be a singles match, one-on-one. But clearly he had the wrong two competitors. So he said he's not out here to apologize to Swerve or Samoa Joe. But alas, and before he could rain on with the rest of the speech, we hear Swerve Strickland's music hit. And he was out there with Prince Nana. And Swerve with the vibe. It's been interesting the last number of weeks between the receptions of Swerve and Hangman. Because in theory, you look back at this feud, and yes, Hangman should be the babyface, should be getting cheered. But Swerve, we know, has been so over the last number of months, and the momentum he is on. It just, he's been over, and Hangman's been getting these lukewarm reactions. Now he had a warmer reaction from the crowd when people really thought he was injured, and he was upset. But how quickly things change on a dot. Swerve talked about how they've been through hell together for the last 6 months. And the reason why he targeted him was not for this, but because of what he accomplished in AEW. Knowing how the respect of Hangman, because originally he talked about wanting a spot. And yes, he's done things that he hasn't been proud of with Hangman. And he had some interesting quotes, as he said, obviously, you have now tread on this unfortunate fate. But the funny thing about fate is you can't stop it. Just like destiny. How my destiny is geared towards Sunday and becoming the new AEW World Champion. So perfect is like a drum. We hear Samoa Joe's music play, and the world champion trots out with the beautiful AEW World Championship. And he was just jolly. As he knowing how, oh, look what we have here. It's these two bare foes trying to make amends, shake hands. Talked about how they've been at each other's throats for the last number of weeks, not realizing who the actual AEW World Champion is. And as him, he's Samoa Joe. Talked about Hangman, called him Hop a lot. Saying, well, he's been hearing some interesting stuff about Hangman and Swerve. Saying that he's been hearing them two as spoken of as two hungry young challengers. That's funny because you both have achieved quite accomplishments throughout your careers. So we call them hungry, accomplished athletes in AEW. And this was a hell of a line. Stated that the reason why you two are hungry is because I'm starving your two asses. Saying that as long as I'm AEW World Champion, there won't be any meals for you come dinner time. I love Smoke. How can you not love Smojo? So we talked about the indecisiveness of Hangman's situation, and meaning that whether it's a one-on-one or a triple threat match at Revolution, saying going into Revolution, I'm gonna whip both of your asses. Mic drop. So Swerve got very heated as Hangman, he just tried away, milking this, injury, this ankle injury. So Swerve got very heated, talking about how he came from being homeless to being in wrestling school, talking about coming from the cruiserweight division to now competing for a world title, talking about coming from nothing, sleeping in his car, to now main eventing pay-per-views, saying that he's on the verge of making history. And yes, he's done some crappy things, going into a wrestling school and being up an 18-year-old kid, going into trespassing a man's house and threatening his kid, saying he'll do whatever it takes, and said, whose house? And they chant back Swerve's house a couple times. And then all of a sudden, in a swift motion, Hangman Adam Page no longer hurt as he decks Swerve in the back with the crutch. And lo and behold, Hangman's healthy, and he decks him in the to the side of the head with the crutch, lays him out cold, and he yells at Samoa Joe up on the stage saying, you will not be champion, he will not be champion, because I will be the champion. And officials and doctors came in and checked on Swerve, separating him from Hangman. This was some opener gearing towards Revolution, that big triple threat match after Revolution. Now, I'll talk about I might as well now just get away. Swerve, we know his momentum. We know it's great. However, I was conflicted weeks ago on who should win. However, look, it's Sting's final match. So, in all likelihood, Sting and Darby versus the Young Bucks should be the main event. If you're going to have a title change, that should be the main event. But considering this Sting's final match and Sting's, final hurrah in his career, I don't see how that isn't the main event. So in this case, excuse me, with Samoa Joe, Hangman, and Swerve not being the main event, I think it's more likely that Samoa Joe retains. Even though it's difficult for Swerve to be a part of a world title match and not win it, it's just unfortunate because if one moment happens, it's going to doom the other. So, I mean, because it's Sting's final match, feels like it's not the right time, basically. Yeah. So, yeah, Samoa Joe. Plus, I don't want to see Joe. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't want to see Joe lose the title yet. Considering what he's done in wrestling and him not getting that moment in WWE, but getting this moment in AEW, it would just work, I feel, for Samoa Joe to retain at Revolution. The Young Bucks, who have changed their wardrobe, changed their suits. Now we're wearing some different custom suits. So they arrived to the arena and they were met by Renee Paquette. Talking about Sting's final Dynamite, talk about their match at Revolution. Matthew has always been the cool head, basically the last couple weeks of this heel turn or heel run. It's been fun. So while they praise Sting for all his efforts and all his contributions to AEW and to the wrestling world, and we're asked about the Ric Flair thing, they talked about, well, while we praise Sting, they want to do their exit interview. So lo and behold, they had some white shiny baseball bats carrying them through the arena, and we're on the hunt for Sting, basically, throughout the show. Next up, the Blackpool Comic Club here versus FTR and Eddie Kingston. Two previews towards two matches involved Sunday. Two interesting matches under the radar, but still interesting. FTR versus Moxley and Claudio, a rematch which some may agree or disagree based on the feud. Nonetheless, it should be a fun match. Telling from their previous encounter, Eddie versus Bryan. If there's excuse me, been one exclusive fun storyline mainly towards Collision as of late. It's been Bryan versus Eddie. And we're going to get those two facing off again on Sunday, which there should be a quality match. And if there's one thing it's been good to see coming out of the Continental Classic is Eddie rising up as far as his competition has been facing, battling the Blackpool Comedy Club, battling Brian Nelson. It's been fun. I don't know what's been going on with Wheeler Yuta, but it's been pretty weird not seeing him in a minute. But the match was solid towards the end, which there was one spot which was not very great. So after getting the hot tag, Eddie ran rough shot, hit exploders on both Bryan and Claudio. Claudio would get the advantage, got the giant swing after some offense, and then Moxley hit a pile driver for a near fall, or was broken up by Dax. FTR, they have so much tape on them, it's like, hey. Anyway, FTR, Eddie Kingston would get the advantage back. Eddie hit a back fist on Bryan, followed with a Cider Bulldog combination by FTR for near fall. In the end, Claudio and Moxley took care of FTR while Bryan and Eddie were in the ring. Bryan, unique way to finish Eddie, as he hit a bicycle knee, fell with stomps to face, and then locked in a triangle choke, which Eddie was out. So here or there, Bryan and the Blackpool Comedy Club win, as Eddie could not continue. So there you go. It's a weird spot. So Bryan got the win. I could see it go either way. Bryan versus Eddie. But it would feel weird seeing the Continental Crown change hands. And we know Bryan has talked about he just wants to wrestle. He does not want to win a title in AEW. So Eddie getting another big win over Bryan certainly another his respect, especially after Bryan beat A's hero in Jun Akiyama. So we'll see. As far as FTR versus Bryan or Claudio and Moxley, interesting. Now that we have the rankings back, I feel like FTR, with what's been going on, kind of need this win more. I mean, they're arguably the best tag team on the planet. And in a tag team division that's been up and down, it seems like they're going to do a surge again. But FTR certainly needs this. So yeah, we go with FTR to get this victory on Sunday. So they showed footage from 30 years ago. Back from Mexico, footage of Atlantis, Chris Jericho's time, and excuse me. Chris Jericho's time in Mexico. So it's good on them to at least give us an explanation or so of why Chris Jericho wanted this match. And he was backstage. He explained, well, due to the partnership with CMLL and his relationship with Atlantis, felt it was necessary and wanted to test himself versus or see how good Atlantis Jr. is. Unfortunately, I knew very little of Atlantis. I mean, there was a period in time where I would be watching Lucha Libre Wrestling weekly, but for a bit. But unfortunately, don't know much about Atlantis. Atlantis Jr., I will say in the match later, has solid effort, but here's the thing. If this match was on Rampage, Collision, or perhaps next week, it would have been better. But because this is a go-home show of AEW Dynamite, and yeah, I think that's where the skepticism is, because this was the go-home show towards Revolution of Dynamite. So, yeah. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Besides the opening segment and besides the women's match, we can all agree that this segment next was great. So, alluded to it towards it earlier, but Will Ospreay officially has ended his contract or fulfilled his contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now he is officially All Elite. Tony Schiavone, they definitely made an effort to make him, even though this isn't his first rodeo, which he also alluded to during the segment, that to make Will Ospreay look like a star. Because now it's like, okay, Will Ospreay is now All Elite. He's now in AEW. So it means now you have the power to book him, and you got to book him right. Because we know Jay White started off very good in his first year in AEW, but now his booking is crap. Okada from New Japan looks like he's going to be coming into AEW in the next couple weeks. And you want to make a good impression there. So Ospreay, gotta do him right. You gotta do him right. But, so yeah, Tony Khan, AEW's booking team. Here you go. But this is great to see. I legitimately so happy that Ospreay now is in AEW officially. He tried out. He was so happy. He's in a green jumpsuit. He talked about he looked like his Kermit the Frog on leg day. He was in the ring and he gestured towards Tony Schiavone like, come in for a hug or something. As wholesome to see. So Tony Schiavone was like, yes, Ospreay's here and he's now all elite. So he's like, well, good to see you. How does it feel, brother? Well, mention how it feels great, and I'm not sure if he's ever been in Huntsville, Alabama, but certainly seemed joyous, more so to be all elite, but still, Alabama certainly enjoyed seeing him. So, talked about how at Full Gear he mentioned let him finish his obligations in New Japan. His obligations are done, and now he is here and he's ready for full-time work in AEW. He's all elite. So he mentioned how yes, the regime and stuff has changed, but alas, don't worry because it's not his first rodeo here in AEW. How his first pay-per-view match here, he beat Orange Cassidy, Forbidden Door 1. And last year at Forbidden Door 2, he beat Kenny Omega. And then at Wembley, All In, he beat Chris Jericho. So I mentioned how things are rolling with the Callis family. And right away we hear that note. It's like an orchestra. It's just like one strong note. It's like that type of thing. It's like a down note. Don Callis' theme. It's albeit strange. So Callis was out there with Takesha and Hobbs. No Fletcher, which I'm sure when the time is right. Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay are going to reunite, and perhaps Mark Davis. So, we'll talk about how it's a great thing, or Callis, Dawn mentioned how it's a great thing and good for the family as on Sunday. Now, Will did not seem to please as being interrupted, and the crowd chanted "You suck" chants at Don Callis, which Ospreay was confused by it, but yeah. He got a warm reaction. So, Callis praising the match, saying, first he praised what they did together as he was alongside Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. They spoke about potentially match of the year, which theory could be with Ospreay and Takeshita at Revolution. We'll see. But it'll be good. So, tell it for them to shake hands. So, they shook hands. Takeshita then, as Ospreay was about to leave, he pulled him back in. Give respect, and then Ospreay did the same thing. And bit of tension there, bit of tension between Ospreay and Takeshita. So Don Callis broke it up, shook hands with Ospreay, music played, and they were on their way. Ospreay and Hobbs shook hands, or fist bumped, and Takeshita gave gestures like, yeah, I got my eye on you. So they left, and you could tell Ospreay, as he was looking at Don Callis' family, move up the ramp like, yep, it's gonna be a fun matchup in play for Sunday. So, definitely a match of the night, probably. Either that or the triple threat. But, either way, it's going to be fun. And yeah, it's great for Ospreay to be all elites. What I was not... So I talked about highs on the show and then the lows on the show. So we had Orange Cassidy versus Nick Wayne for the International Championship. I'm going to say this because I think we can agree, and I've seen it online pretty much, and I totally feel it, and it's unfortunate. But it feels like there's an Orange Cassidy fatigue. It feels like it. You know, Tony Khan loves Orange Cassidy. Well, he's friends with Orange Cassidy. It's like him and Darby Allin were with Tony Khan at that game. I'm not sure if it was a soccer game or something. But yeah, they were there with them, and Orange Cassidy was there to promote All In last week. But still, you know, there comes a point where there comes a fatigue and this gimmick of Orange Cassidy, and it's just not great. And if this isn't a sign that Roderick Strong needs to win that title on Sunday, and Orange Cassidy needs to take a break, then I don't know what, because it just The other thing is AEW brought back the rankings to help, I assume to help with their booking, to provide storylines and matches for the coming weeks. Nick Wayne, albeit we know his potential, but seriously, what has he done in AEW? And he's not even ranked in the top 5. So I mean, instead of doing that and being lazy, this is worse. Giving an open challenge to Nick Wayne. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, unfortunately I was just not interested in this match. Just not. I felt bad because Orange Cassidy, there's times when I'm a fan and then more and more it's just not working. So yeah, Orange Punch by Orange Cassidy for the win. He retains. And the other thing which is not helping Orange is the fact that they've made the Undisputed Kingdom not a great. So I mean, they haven't let Roddy talk. That's the thing. They haven't let Roddy talk. It's like the Undisputed Kingdom they lost 2 weeks in a row. They got taken out by Hager, and they did attack after to be saved by the Best Friends or Trent Barrett. I mean, jeez, not more needs to be said. This pains me to have to talk about this segment, but we had the Bang Bang Sis Gang, aka the Acclaimed, and the Bullet Club Gold. So, talk about the happenings and what's next for them. Saying maybe there should be a match on Collision, pairing with the Acclaimed and Austin Gunn. It's like, okay, originally it seemed like it was going to be these two factions or these two trios align, and then Bullet Club Gold may still do that in the future, but they may attack the Acclaimed and then voice their attention on the AEW trio styles, because honestly, I like the Acclaimed, but the antics and just it's making with Orange Cassidy, it's like it's literally making me not care less about the Acclaimed. And Bullet Club Gold, it sucks because it's making them look worse. It's making them look worse. Jay White's looking not good being paired with them. The Guns are not. It's like people thought, well, the Guns realign with their dad, but it's not the way it should be. So, I mean, just making them look worse. All needs to be said. But then what happened next? Kris Statlander and Skye Blue. So, while you were annoyed about that segment, this definitely woke people up. This was, I'd say, a solid match. Definitely a critique I think we can agree is how Kris Statlander has been kind of in a slope. If we have to say, being the one to beat Jay twice and then not capitalizing on her momentum, it sucked. But at the same time, we can appreciate how Skye Blue is improving. Now, there were antics in this match, but nonetheless, cool as the camera in, but nonetheless, so it looked like Stokely Hathaway wanted Kris Statlander to use a chain, and Willow was against it. So maybe this is where Statlander goes next in their eyes, because it's like she's going to have to choose between Willow and Stokely. So, I mean, that's probably what's next for her. But in any event, Julia Hart, she hit her with the title, and Skye Blue followed up with Cold Blue, which followed up for the win. Skye Blue is beating Kris twice. Again, mixed reaction to that. Skye Blue is still number one, folks. Still number one, but nonetheless, it's conflicting because Skye Blue can appreciate her improvement, but at the same time, Kris's storyline, it's been on and off. It's been kind of warm. But we'll see how it goes, I guess. Julia Hart, we've seen her more with Skye Blue, it feels like, the last number of weeks than we've seen House of Black. But, yeah. So we got Chris Jericho. This was the main event match. Young Bucks versus, excuse me. We had Chris Jericho versus Atlantis Jr. Now, credit to Atlantis Jr. He did have some offense in there. And I allude to, the reason why this match take it or leave it. I mentioned why it's iffy, but here we are. So yeah, Atlantis had some offense. He had a nice springboard arm drag catching off Jericho. Jericho did look like he landed awkwardly from it, but good news, he finished the match. So they were changing the ring. Atlantis hit a tope over top. Didn't quite get all of it, but got some of Jericho. Atlantis, or I'll just say Junior. Junior went for a high flying off the top, but he got caught. Jericho followed with the Avalanche Frankensteiner, which is still good to see at his age. Junior would follow up. He went for like a burning hammer, like inverted torture rack, like maneuver, but Jericho fought out, and Jericho walked in the walls, aka lion tamer, or yeah, it was more the walls, and Atlantis, his father, was out there with a towel, and it seemed like many times that he thought about it, but he threw in the towel, and there was that. And there was a show of respect afterwards between Jericho, Atlantis, and Atlantis Jr. So, there you go. Jericho gets win, and he moves on to that 8-man scramble at Revolution. See how it goes. Main event segment. Last thing on the show. Which, great thing. So they had, yeah, it was great that they had Hangman and the world title. They had that segment to start the show. And then they had Young Bucks and Sting and Darby closing the show. So that was great. So, in the middle of the show, it was funny. It looked a little bit cheesy, but Young Bucks looked to Sting's locker room and tried to ambush him. But when they went in, it was empty, full of baseball bats falling from the ceiling. So, yeah, they were a bit ticked off. Feeling eerie. So, we get to this segment. Young Bucks. It's still unique hearing their new theme music. Certainly is. So, they walked out. And as they got to ringside, Darby Allin ambushed them and held his own for quite a while, and then a bit of brawl ensued, but Matthew and Nicholas with baseball bats kind of figured it was about time. So in the ring, Matthew and Nicholas hit the EVP trigger and gestured towards Ric Flair. Ric Flair to come out and originally Matthew gave him a bat to wallop Darby Allin. But instead, he poked the eye of Nicholas and landed some shots on Matthew before finally Flair was taken out with a low blow. As safe a low blow as you can get with the dirtiest player in the game. So then, going in for a beatdown Darby, but then Sting's music play. So then, Matthew and Nicholas, they try to get ready. They try to ambush Sting. So they go up to the stage. They're ready. Baseball bats in hand. And all of a sudden we see the visual to its ring and Darby making his way out the ring. And then they cut to the ceiling as Sting, for many years in WCW, descended from the rafters in the building, and he appeared right at ringside with Darby, and he met Matthew and Nicholas with his own baseball bat, and the brawl really shook up. So yeah, they got the advantage. And then in the middle ring, Sting with a Scorpion Death Drop on Nicholas, to the delight of Ric Flair, and show off as Sting, Darby on Ric Flair, all happy, all towards the ring. Sadly, it seems like it may not be a happy ending, though, in Greensboro, as we may get new tag team champions on Sunday. I think that's the prediction. Young Bucks beat Darby and Sting. Yeah, Sting's final match on Sunday. Feels pretty weird, but it's going to happen Sunday. But yeah, that's the show, guys. Thank you guys for joining me. Like I said, so no SmackDown or Collision review this weekend. I will have a Revolution review, though, for you guys either Monday or Tuesday, so keep an eye out for that, guys. But yeah, nonetheless, thank you all for joining me for this Dynamite review. Again, subscribe if you guys are new, veterans that have not subscribed yet. Hit the like button, leave a thumbs up, helps out the video and helps out the channel. Thank you guys. Yeah, so I covered my predictions, except for one match. Yeah, one match. It was Toni Storm, Deonna Purrazzo. I think it's fair to say Toni Storm should retain, and I think she will. So, yeah. But yeah, Brian versus Eddie, given to Eddie. FTR versus Claudio and Mox. FTR. Triple threat for the world title. Got Samoa Joe retaining. Got the 8-man scramble. Going with Wardlow. I think we are. Christian Cage versus Daniel Garcia. Go with Christian Cage. Although you could definitely see Daniel Garcia winning. Yeah. But those are my predictions for AEW Revolution. We'll see how it goes on Sunday night. But for now, guys, thank you guys. See you guys sometime next week. Peace. Hey, Joe, to love. Thank you, guys.